Please.
If he beats Boots,
Yes.
is he better than Mayweather? And, you know, I'm an Errol Spence fan, but that was definitely not the truth.
How many fights along the way? The biggest fight of your career, you get weight drained?
We can go there. Vegas or New York.
And then when I stop him, they'll say he's too small.
Hey, so when I stop him, y'all gonna say he was too weak.
On my life.
And he stayed at 147.
You would not stop
too long.
me. You would not stop me.
Okay.
Crazy. Be careful since we're smoking on.
Okay.
Crazy. Be careful since we're smoking on.
To right, Errol Spence on inline skates. A man, yes. Naoya in a way looks sensational going into it. What Errol Spence represented.
Wow, man. So we had the big fight. But it's not what everybody expected at all. Not what everybody expected. No matter who you was a fan of, didn't play out the way anybody seen it playing out that Saturday. So, you know, first I'll start off with, you know, congratulations to Crawford. You know, he went in there, he dominated. But so many things has been going around the internet, and I kind of gotta agree. And, you know, I've always got to keep it 100. It didn't look like Spence was fully there. Something just looked off about Spence. I'm not sure what it was, but he looked a little off. But I don't want to take anything from Crawford. He went in there, he did what he had to do. He got the W. Nobody has stopped Spence ever, knocked him down at that. So congratulations to Crawford, but yikes, Spence looks like, I don't know, it's not looking good. What do you think?
Yep. Completely dominated him. Completely. But I have no horse in the race. I'm completely unbiased. We try to be that way.
Right. Yeah. Oh.
You know, we try to be that way on this show. And unbiasedly, regardless of you said Crawford, I said Spence, I'm not crying regardless of result. What I'm simply stating is what I saw. And what I saw was, as before the fight even started, I mean, during the pay-per-view event, and they went backstage and talked with Spence, the first thing I noticed was, why does he look tired? I just felt, damn, why does he look tired? Why does he look so drained? Why he doesn't look excited? Then the fight started. And from the moment the bell rang, I said, God damn, Spence looks fucking flat. And then I saw him get dropped by a fucking jab. And the third round came, I said, this fight is over. It's probably not going past 5. My opinion, there's no way a guy as tough as Spence looks that bad overnight without being compromised. I think he was completely weight drained. Completely. It's no way you're telling me a guy who's been punched in the face by Danny Garcia, who got punched in the face by you guys, not looking at him, looking at his mouthpiece on the floor, got duffed clean, didn't fall. But you're telling me he got wobbled off a jab. He said, oh, it was a flash knockdown. His feet weren't under him. What the fuck are y'all looking at? His feet were under him. He was off balance. His feet were under him. He was off balance. There's no way you can't tell me that he wasn't completely weight drained.
A stroke, even people with dementia, which is another form of neurological damage. There's certain things that you look for. And my wife, when she saw Errol Spence enter the ring, she asked me, she's like, he looks like he's on marijuana. And I told her, I said, he has residual neurological damage from his car accident. That people have commented on this, but people, if you don't have the experience doing this, you're not going to pick up on it. So one of the things when you're doing a neurological exam on somebody, you look at there's like a glassy look to a person's eyes when they have either a concussion or they have advanced stages of dementia. And if you compare video of Errol Spence before his accident, just do a little assessment on the eye exam of what I'm telling you. It is apparent. I mean, it is honestly, it is embarrassing how obvious it is that he's significantly compromised. His words, his thought process, he's much, much slower. Now, another component to a sign of advanced neurological damage is a loss of balance. That's why as people age, primary cause of injury for older people is falls. And that's because as the nervous system degrades, the communication to the musculoskeletal system is also compromised. Now listen to what even Spence was saying. Spence doesn't even know what he's saying. He's just commenting that. He's like, oh, my timing was off. My timing was off. That is because his brain is not the same. Now, of course, you can add on to that alcohol abuse, sure. Dropping weight, water dehydration, of course. But he should have never been allowed to get into the boxing match. All you have to do is look at Ugas's fight. You can see a difference in the way he moves. Now, unfortunately, from the neck down, because he's a physical specimen, he looks amazing. But from the neck up, he is not the same person. Because when a person is neurologically compromised, lateral movement is gone. Your side-to-side diagonal movements are weak. So if you think back, this is why all he could do was go back and forth, front and back. Even my wife said, he can only go front and back. I said, I know, he can't go side to side. Because you go side to side, and what happens? You start losing your balance. Errol Spence knows this. He knows this.
I may accept that, he has some effects from the car accident, and, residual effects. And, as a doctor was stating, but when it comes to the weight drain, I'm trying my best to acknowledge that, but a part of me doesn't. After seeing All Access with he had the nutritionist there and saying how his diet is on point now, and this has been the best thing that ever happened to him, having a nutritionist. He don't got to worry about meals, and everything is on board weight wise. It's hard for me to say, well, he's weight drained, because you're supposed to be at this point in my mind, you're a professional. You know how to deal with that. You've done it how many fights along the way? The biggest fight of your career, you get weight drained. For me, it's hard for me to accept that. Now, like I said, what the doctor said, maybe I could see that. But the weight drain, I feel like that's on you, bro.
In order to remain at welterweight, the big fish must stay as lean as possible.
But as you get older, it's not easy to keep making that weight. Before I met him 2 years ago, he'd never had a camp house. He'd done everything from home, everything by himself, killing himself to make 147. It's absolutely essential for him to do it the right way. The worst thing right now is to be starving for the biggest night of his life.
It's a huge weight off my shoulders, not worrying about, what I'm gonna eat for breakfast, what I'm gonna eat for lunch, what I'm gonna eat for dinner, and just having somebody else do that.
Opinion. Also, that doctor himself is going off what he feels. He doesn't know neither. He hasn't seen Spence, so
right.
I'm glad he made that statement, but we don't know that for sure, but it is a possibility. It's a very realistic possibility. Errol Spence doesn't look like the same fighter since the accident, but he definitely didn't look like that the other two fights. But let me ask you this. Yeah. What would be the purpose of getting a nutritionist?
To make things easier. To make making your weight easier.
Okay, so making it easier would suggest, I don't know, I don't want to sound like a lawyer, but wouldn't that suggest he was having trouble making the weight then?
Well, I don't know if he was having trouble. I mean, he's done it every single time before. I just feel like this helped him along, made it simpler, made it easier. And I understand what you're saying, but my mindset is, okay, now putting it back on, it should be some science to it, because you have a nutritionist, you have somebody who specializes in that field. So putting the weight back on should really be no problem in my mind. I don't know what happened. We don't know what happened. It is, but you know, there's obviously something off about Spence. And again, no discredit to Crawford at all. No discredit to Crawford, because nobody has ever stopped Spence. Nobody has ever knocked him down. So no discredit to Crawford. But if you feel like something was wrong with Spence this night, right? And I could kind of see it. I'm not totally on board, but I could kind of see it. But for all those who feel like that, are you saying that no matter the opponent that night, Spence would lose?
No. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, and I don't want to take away from what Terrence Crawford did. It's not anyone's job to wait for people to be able to beat you. Terrence Crawford did nothing wrong. It's not his job to make that weight. But let's not act like weight drain isn't a real thing. We've seen it time and time again. And again, I want to say the result is not my argument. I'm not talking about the result. My simple statement is that was not the best Errol Spence. We also seen other fighters come in the ring and look completely zapped. Back in the days, Andre Ward was a force. I'm not saying he wasn't great. Andre Ward is undoubtedly a Hall of Famer. But when he got in the ring with Chad Dawson was no longer the same fighter. And he was completely weight drained, where every time he got hit with a punch, he was buckling. Does that mean that Andre Ward wasn't going to beat him or stop him? No, but I believe Andre Ward would have still beat him. But he was completely weight drained. That did not look like bad Chad Dawson. Another time it happened, Roy Jones fighting Antonio Tarver. When Roy Jones moved up in weight and ended up having to lose weight to get back down from heavyweight after winning the heavyweight title and getting in there with Antonio Tarver, he ended up winning the fight the first time. But even out his own mouth, he was like, "Yo, I didn't feel great. I felt, a little sluggish," and he won that fight. The rematch, what happened? He gets knocked out. The fight after that, Glenn Johnson, he gets knocked out again. So in this situation, I'm not trying to shit on Crawford. Crawford did an amazing job, and I'm not talking about the result. Chances are, even if they fought at 154, Crawford would have still outboxed him.
Yeah.
I don't think Crawford knocks him down with a jab. I don't think Crawford bloodies him up that way in like 3 seconds. That's just my thing. If it's the weight drain thing, fuck that. Come back at 154, come back with vengeance, and come back and take Crawford on again. But if that weaker version of Spence we saw was because something of the brain, you have to retire. You don't even go and maybe you could get a ride off in the sunset fight against a tomato can or whatever, just so your spirit feels better. Just me personally, man, before the fight, I looked at him and went, he don't look good. The moment the fight started, the very first round, I went, he doesn't look good. And then when he got dropped by a jab, I said, he's shot. He's completely shot. And I'm not a pro fighter. I don't know what it ever felt like to lose 20, 30 pounds and try to go against another elite athlete. All I could do is go from my experience of watching for the past 30 plus years. That shit almost never ends well when you're talking about two elite fighters.
Right.
That was supposed to be a 50-50 fight. That didn't even look close to a 50-50 fight.
But there's times where it is easier to spot than others. And it kind of makes me think back of Eubank Sr. and Watson number 2, where, Eubank gets knocked down from Watson and then he gets up and he is just one particular shot. And like you said, you've seen it in his eyes. You've seen that he was done. But what did they do? They threw him back out there. And, later on, we seen what happened. I made a video about it. We got it up on Chin Checkers. But yeah, these things do happen. So You know, obviously safety first, put your health first. And I agree with that statement. If something is really wrong inside, it's better just to hang it up. It really is. It's better to hang it up now.
Do you think that fight should have been stopped earlier?
No. As a boxing fan, I would say no. Only because you have two elite fighters, one of them being Spence, who's known for power. And I think most boxing fans, most people watching the fight thought that if Spence could land a punch, a clean punch, it could change the dynamic of the fight. So I didn't think it was stopped too soon. I didn't think it should have been stopped earlier. This is an undisputed fight, and I felt like maybe you need to give a fighter a chance to prove that he's great. It didn't happen, but I thought the stoppage was a good stoppage. I have no problem with it at all. I actually heard people feel like it got stopped too soon, which I disagree with. I completely disagree with that. I feel like it was a good stoppage, but I don't think it needed to be stopped earlier. He didn't look good, but you know, this is the fight.
Through that whole fight, even starting from round one, and show me a crisp power shot, not landing. See, I'm not being one of these fickle guys and going, oh, the decision is what's making me feel this way. I do not care about the outcome.
Right.
I'm talking specifically about the performance. Find me one punch that you looked and went, oh, that was crispy. At the end of the fight, I think it might have been in the second round, he came out with a little more looked like a little more bounce to his step.
Well, that was the third round. The third round he came out after he got knocked down, because he got knocked down in the second round. So the third round he came out a little more aggressive, and because in round 8 he did better in comparison, only because Crawford took that round off, and in the next round he got knocked down. But to kind of cut you off, the reason why I said that is because think about Wilder and Tyson Fury, number 2. I didn't think as it should have been stopped sooner. I think it got stopped like at the perfect time. But because we know who Wilder is and what he's done in the past, I felt, and I'm pretty sure other people felt, like he still has a chance to land a shot that could change the dynamic of the fight. So that's why I said what I said. I mean, granted, yes, Spence was getting beat up, but because he's known for power, I think that's why they let the fight go on. You know, that's just my opinion.
Yo, respect for that comparison, because that's a great comparison. But if you look at any of those fights, any of the Wilder Fury fights, you can see the velocity in his punch is just he's telegraphing it, so Fury's able to move out the way. But you can still see the snap. After he got hurt a couple times, you don't see the snap anymore. That is totally different than what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, if we said it was the third round he comes out and I believe he's throwing like loopy left hands. Even those really didn't look like they had juice. They landed, and then after the fight, mind you, this is the third round. We're talking about supposedly one of the pound-for-pound best fighters, best punchers in boxing. He broke you guys' eye. We're talking about a guy who breaks eyes. Land a punch on Terrence Crawford, and Crawford went, that's it? So you're telling me Terrence Crawford has an iron face now? That's what we're saying. We're saying that Terrence Crawford has an iron face.
He from Omaha. Who knows, baby? Who knows?
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Come on. Fucking Errol Spence looked weird. His feet looked weird. Everything looked weird. I'm sorry. I don't care about the result. I was just upset that something was wrong with the guy. And then after the fight, they talked to Terrence and he goes, yeah, he hit me. And I was like, that's it? There's no way. That just does not make sense. It doesn't make sense, you know. But shout out to Crawford, because it's not his job to make sure someone's 100% beating him. I know I'm talking a lot. Let me go on another rant real quick. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. You do not wait. This is for every fucking fighter out there. You do not wait around to set up these super fights. Why? Because you can have a fucking accident and get thrown out of a car and almost die and never be the same again. You can also break your hand and never be the same again. You do not wait to have these super fights. Terrence Crawford said after the fight, it may have looked easy, but it's not. And it's because training camps are fucking hard. I've seen world champions spar with each other. They have 3 different fighters standing around trying to take their heads off. That is not easy on any level. Even if your camp is only 6 weeks, it is not easy. Stop waiting around, because shit like this happens where you end up getting somewhat of a diminished version of yourself. And, you know, I'm an Errol Spence fan, but that was definitely not the truth.
Well, to end on a better note, Crawford made history.
He did.
You know what I'm saying? What do you think he does next?
Now,
do you think he goes for the 3rd division, undisputed?
So, this is just me speaking my opinion. If Charlo had not moved up to fight Canelo, you move up. If Crawford is having too much trouble making 147, you move up. He talked about it being even hard for him. If he can make that weight and he still feels comfortable making that weight, you go after Boots. And the reason I say that is because that's another legacy fight. Even though Boots isn't as big of a name as Errol Spence, every boxing fan, hardcore fan, knows Boots is the real deal and is going to be the next one. So if you still got juice, you do not wait for Boots to get even better, more experience, and you to get older and more washed. If you can, this is the best you're ever going to be, Crawford. Go after Boots.
It would be awesome if he could take on Boots. And if he won, you know, wow. I think he wouldn't even have to go to 154 if he takes on Boots and beats him.
Oh, yeah.
But if he does take on Boots and beats him,
hold on. I got a question for you.
Oh, go ahead, please.
If he beats Boots,
yes,
is he better than Mayweather?
All right, we're going to end the show right here. All right. Hey, y'all already know what it is. You know, your boy get that work. That's Hawk. We out of here. I'm not even joking. We out of here.